You can have all the usual props ready, and yeah, we're ready to go. If you've got any health issues, pop it in the chat, and then I will give you other options. But I think I know you all, so we're ready to go. Okay, we're going to come and stand to start with today. So why not? It's actually almost daylight, so that's quite exciting for us, isn't it? So let's do that. So we'll come and stand, and we'll stand with the feet hip width apart, and we'll just take a couple of rolls of the shoulders here. So we can just draw the shoulders up and back and let them slide down, bring a little tone to the belly as we do this, so the support around the core area. And as we're moving through this, let's not just make it a sort of arbitrary shoulder roll, but let's feel each stage of the movement. Let's feel the arms drawing forwards, let's feel them drawing back, let's feel the movement of the shoulder blades, and use this movement as a means of connecting with our body and arriving in our body. Okay, so as we do that, we can feel into the breath. So we'll feel that the breath will naturally find a little rhythm with this movement. Okay, and then we'll release the arms down. We'll keep that little light tone in the belly, that lift in the chest. We'll soften the forehead, release the jaw. We'll feel into any other movement that the body might need to find ourselves just dropping into the center. Let's do that. Find ourselves dropping into the center. So the center, Madhya, is of course a sort of center of balance here that we're finding, a sort of physical center of balance, a center of gravity, but also we're attuning to an energetic center. So that is from 2 points of view. One, the center, the central midline of the body, the plumb center of the body, like the axis of the body. And two, the center of that which is around the heart center. So we can orientate ourselves to those two locations. Anytime the breath wants to come in deeper, let it come in deeper. Okay, we're going to raise our arms above our head. We're going to lift up. And we're going to lengthen, and we're going to just feel into a little bit of movement from side to side here, so we can have a little stretch out through the arms. That's it. We can have a little sway of the hips, so we can feel as we lean into one side and extend that side, that we're getting that extension all the way up through the side of the body. And we're just moving it from side to side. That's it. Breathing, giving. And then coming back into the center, interlacing the fingers, turning the palms up towards the ceiling. That's it, breathing. Okay. Now we're going to take a little movement to take a wide circle with the arms. So we're going to bend the knees into this, and we're going to allow the pelvis to tilt into this. So we can start by moving in a clockwise direction. So you're going to come to bend the knees, you're going to bring the arms around, you're going to keep that little tone in the belly as you move, so there is support, and we're going to take those wide reaches, letting ourselves turn into this as we need to, breathe into this as you need to. So I deliberately often don't tell people when to inhale, when to exhale in yoga, because I want you to develop that relationship of trust and respect with your breath. Okay, we're going to take this in the opposite direction when we next come up. So we'll take a moment to pause, to lift, to reach, and then we'll take it in the other direction, so in a counterclockwise direction now. And just allow what we can notice in yoga. And this is one of the things that is sort of endlessly fascinating to me, is that we can take an action with our body as we do every single day, multiple times a day. And we can take the same action with our body. Not that we're doing this particular action in our day-to-day life, but we're doing many actions that we do in yoga, stretch and lift. But we can take it in yoga and it's different. And what's different is how we bring our attention to it, how we feel into it, how we purpose the action for awareness. Okay, we're back up. We can release our arms down in a wide circle. And we can just take a breath here. Feel into the release now, through the shoulders, through the wrists, through the fingers. Let's just have a little bounce out, a little shake out, a little shimmy out, whatever you need. That's it. Breathe. Okay, well done. Neck feels free. Belly is lightly toned. Heart and heart center is lightly lifting by itself. Feel the difference between you lifting it and the heart rising by itself. Okay, let's take a wide stride now. And we're going to bring our hands onto our hips. So we've got our feet in line with each other here. We're just going to feel into a little bit of movement through the pelvis. It's not a big movement here with the feet turned in this direction, parallel to each other. But we can feel that we've got this capacity to let the pelvis tip to each side, okay? And then as we feel into that, we can feel the point at which we meet resistance. So that's where the thigh bone meets the sort of rim of the hip joint, the acetabulum there. We can feel into that, and we can feel how when we meet that place, then we know that we can't push into that. This is a compressive resistance, what we call compressive resistance, because it is the bone meeting the bone. But what we can also feel into is perhaps the stretch through the inner thighs. Now, what might be a limiter there, of course, is soft tissue resistance, tensile resistance. So we can breathe into that. And then that might start to release with a little bit of movement. Now we're rising up through the body, we're rising up, we're deepening the feet into the floor. And then we're going to come to pause in the center. We're going to raise our arms up in a wide circle. We're going to lift up into the arms, into the fingertips, into the space above the fingers. We're going to feel the breath here and give to the breath here. Okay, now let's just lift up onto the balls of the feet, and we'll turn our heels in towards the center of the mat. So the toes are now turning out. We're going to bend the knees. We're going to bring the arms out wide. So we're going to sit down into this wide position. And we're going to play with a little bit of movement, like a little sort of crab type action here. Leaning from side to side, keeping the belly toned, keeping the breath free. Seeing if we can bring a little more broadness across the collarbones by drawing the elbows back, deepening the shoulder blades down, keeping that tone in the belly, relaxed in the facial muscles. Okay, now let's bring the arms down. We'll bring our hands down onto the thighs, and we're just going to turn the toes back in now. And we're going to play with a little bit of movement to extend each leg and just let the body turn a little. Okay, so we can just extend and turn. So the elbows will bend, the elbow and the knee will bend in turn. That's it. Okay. Now let's come back to the center. And then we'll feel this as much more of a turn and more of a rotation. So let's really rotate the body into that. So we can really turn. Extending the arm to feel the extension from the pelvis to the shoulder. So we get that wonderful extension and stretch through the back muscles. So particularly we can feel it on each side of the back through the latissimus dorsi muscle. That's it. Breathe into it. Okay, we'll come back to the center, we'll lift up. Now you might want to have a block, we're going to fold forward, so you may want to have a block or even a couple of blocks, one under each hand. So we're going to take a little tip forwards from the pelvis, so let's lift up, let's deepen the feet into the floor, and let's find that fold at the hip joints, so the whole pelvis tips over the thighs, so the thigh bones remain stable. And the pelvis and the torso tip forwards. We bring our hand down to our brick, and if you've got a lot of movement and the body wants to move further, you can lower your brick or even come to the floor, but we're not in a rush to get anywhere. We're going to stay at this midway position rather than moving into a full forward fold, at least for now. And then we're going to feel into a little bit of movement here. So we can bend each knee and lean from side to side. So it's a nice way to just encourage the body to give to this. So particularly when we're doing a sort of first thing in the morning type practice, the body needs a little bit more coaxing. That's it. So it needs a little bit more encouragement, but we also want to be respectful. We can kind of honor this time when we practice first thing in the morning as being like a Vishranti, a little in-between place. And in this little in-between place, what we have here, in this little in-between place, is a moment of pause. It's a moment, you know, we're not still in bed asleep. We're not quite fully going into our day yet, but we're just here. We're in the pause, embracing the pause. Okay, now we can let ourselves continue. As we move from side to side, you might be finding that the body's releasing. So you may be able to fold yourself a little further forwards into this if the body is giving to this. And you're welcome to come to a position and use your block, if you've got a brick block, to bring your head to, or you may be folding further towards the floor. You can keep using this movement to help encourage and release and coax the body into it. But there might be a point at which you feel like you want to bring the legs into a stable position to allow the body to tip, to tilt, to fold in. How's the breath? Are you still in a respectful, trusting relationship with the breath here? Okay, now let's bring ourselves back to that midway position. We can do this with or without a block, depending on, you know, how stiff the body's feeling at the moment. But we can bring our hand, one hand, let's bring the left hand to the center point on the floor, either on the floor or on the block. And then we're going to bring the right hand to our sacrum. We're going to press into the left hand by bending the elbow first, and then re-extending it and using that re-extension to rotate the body towards the right. Okay, that's it. Breathe. Now we can feel into any movement here. Again, a little bit of movement through the legs, a little bending and re-extending of the elbow is a really great way to open the chest through the engagement of the triceps. And then if you've got a lot of turn, you're welcome to raise that arm up. but you can also keep the hand on the sacrum. Okay, let's bring the arm down. Let's take a little rotation. Let's have a little bit of movement, a little bit of play, a deeper breath or two, and then let's bring the right hand to the center, either using a block or using the floor. And again, we'll bend that elbow, we'll push into the hand to re-extend the arm as we turn the body towards the left. We bring the other hand onto the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, and we breathe. And again, that bending and re-extending can be a really great way to open the chest because it draws the shoulder blade down and into the back ribs. And again, you're welcome to raise that top arm up or keep the hand on the sacrum if that feels better for your body today. It might be different on one side to the other. And just take a moment, drop back into the Vishranti, the pause, the place in between. The place between 2 points of doing. Okay, let's bring the arm down if you've raised it. Let's bring ourselves back into the center. Let's take a breath here. Let's have a little bit of movement here. Okay, and then we're going to take a little walk around towards one end of the mat, whichever works for you in your setup. So we can walk around, we can bring both hands to the floor, shoulder width apart, and we'll step that front foot back towards the back foot. That's it. Have a little play here. Okay, have a little wiggle here. You can deepen your hands into the floor. That's it, breathe. Now, let's lift up through our downward facing dog. So let's lift the heels, let's lift up through the legs. Let's allow that tip of the body, the tip of the pelvis over the thighs in exactly the same way that we did in our wide stride forward fold a moment ago. We felt that turn of the pelvis. So let's just take a moment to really focus on that. So with the heels lifted, it frees up the hamstrings to allow that tip of the pelvis. Then as the pelvis really tips over the thighs, this feeds the weight forwards into the upper body. So then we feed back by deepening the hands into the floor, reaching up through the arms, opening the armpits, feeling the extension through the sides of the body. We can let the heels descend, we can let the hips sway. We can breathe here, breathe into the back of the legs, give ourselves any movement that the body might need here. Wonderful. Okay, now let's just bring ourselves down. We're going to sit back on our heels or take an alternative posture if you need to. Take any supports if you need to, so you can pop a block between buttocks and heels if you need to. And we'll just rest. Rest our hands in our lap. Release the shoulders. Release the breath. Okay, we are going to come into downward facing dog again, but we're going to do it with a belt. So I'm going to get a belt. Oh, hang on, there's a better belt here. So we're going to tie our belt up. We're going to make a loop with our belt. So loop your belt. Okay. And we're going to loop the belt. So when you bring your arms around it, so this is for downward facing dog, you're going to bring your belt around so it comes here. I'll come in closer so you've got a good view. So you can see it's right in towards the crook of the elbow there. Okay. And then you check out your zombie arms. That's it. Okay. And then when you've done that, and you try not to trip over a block when you've done that. Okay. You come down. And you're going to bring your hands to the floor. Now, the belt, you want to feel that there's some pressure against the belt. You want to feel that you are pushing into the belt as you push your hands forwards as well. We're going to lift up the knees, and then we're going to lift and extend, lift the heels. We're going to draw back, so drawing the heels back, and we're going to breathe now. So there should be a little bit of resistance there through the belt. So it's all the same actions, but what this is going to do is it's going to encourage us to engage through the shoulders a little more. So it may feel a little stronger. You can, if you like, if the belt just happens to be in the right place, let your forehead rest into the belt like a little hammock. So we breathe and we give, there should be no tension in the neck, but we can feel the work in the shoulders there. We can feel the work through the triceps there, these outer muscles of the upper arms. Okay, well done. Now let's come down. Let's take a little sit back on our heels and just rest again, or taking an alternative posture if you need to. And then just feel that release all the way through the arms. Feel the release travel from the base of the neck, through the shoulders, through the arms, through the elbows, through the forearms, through the wrists, through the hands. Let the breath flow. Okay, well done. Now, we're going to do the same again, but we're going to come onto our forearms. So belt's going to be in the same position. We're going to be forearms flat to the floor. You can, if you like, use a block, which can be a nice way to sort of keep your hands level with the elbows. However, so you sort of frame the bottom of the block with your index finger and your thumb. But for some people, that can be challenging if you've got shoulder issues. Definitely when I had my frozen shoulder, I had to bring my hands in because I couldn't get this arm out like that. So you can take a more triangular position with your arms if you need to, if there's any shoulder issues there. So we're going to press into the forearms, we're going to lift up, so we're going to lift the heels, we're going to tip the pelvis over the top of the thighs, and we're going to deepen through the forearms, and we're going to breathe. So again, we're going to get this little bit of positive resistance from our belt that's going to make us engage a little more strongly through the arms, which we're going to breathe into. That's it. Any movement here to assist release, to assist engagement, to assist attention, awareness. Go with it. But notice that there is a fine line between movement for release and engagement and movement for distraction. So check in. Okay, well done. Let's come down again. We'll take that little sit back on our heels. We'll take a deep breath. Because if we were really feeling into that action of the belt, it should feel quite strong. Should feel quite strong through the upper body. So we'll feel that obviously through the shoulders, through the arms, but maybe you can feel the release in the upper back into the trapezius muscle area. Okay, this sort of trapezoid shaped muscle on our back. We can feel that release. Okay, one last similar action with our belt in the same place. We're going to take a plank pose. Now this will bring our upper back area into a much stronger engagement than we usually come into in this. So let's bring our hands to the floor. Let's feel that push against the belt. Tighten the belt if you need to. It might actually, I find that it needs to be very tiny smidgen bits smaller for this to get that push in our plank pose. So we've got our shoulders above the wrists. We're going to lift the knees. We're going to make that straight line now with the body. Okay, that's it. Breathe. That's it. And we tone the belly. We lengthen the chest forwards. We pull the heels back. We push into the belt if we can. So feel that work. Feel how that helps us to engage through the back muscles. Obviously, any little movements, again, they're welcome if they help you to give to it. They help you to breathe into it. Okay, well done. Knees to the floor, release, sit back, and then just enjoy the little glow that's there. So, although sometimes those stronger actions we might resist them, we may, when we're in them, sort of have a relationship of perhaps wanting to not be in them, we can feel that it's not just about when we're in that posture and the shape that we make and the energy that we use in it, but it's about what it does, what it creates, what it releases. And hopefully we can feel now there is a sort of warmth of release. There's a warmth of kind of vibrancy that is beneath the surface. Find your breath, give to your breath. Okay, we're going to come up onto our knees. Feel free to fold your mat over or be on a blanket if it's a little bit tight on your knees, a little uncomfortable. So I've just taken a little fold of my mat over there so that can give me a bit of padding. And we're going to keep the belt there. So we're going to just take the belt just above the wrists there. So let's have the palms in towards each other. Now we're going to make sure that the buckle is not into the skin, so be free of your buckle. And then we're going to raise our arms above the head. So the knees are about a hand width apart, so we're nice and stable. Feet behind us. We're lifting up, we're toning the belly, we're lifting the chest. We're going to apply that little bit of pressure into our belt here. And then with tone in the belly, we're going to take a little push into the left wrist to draw ourselves over towards the left, but we're going to resist a little bit with the right hand, so there's still a tautness across the belt. We're still pushing against the belt on either side, so we can feel into that extension there through the right side of the body. That's it, we can breathe into it. Okay, now let's apply a little bit more pressure through the right hand to draw us back into the center. Find the breath, and then when you're ready, applying more pressure still into that right hand to lean us over towards the right. Keep that tone in your belly. That's it, breathe. Again, we're keeping that tautness across the belt, so there's a communication between the two arms via the belt. It's like closing a little electrical circuit. It's a mudra. Okay, let's come back up to the center. Let's release the arms down and feel all of that wonderful release through the shoulders, down through the arms, through the elbows, through the wrists. You need any movement there. So any movement you can feel into your body knows, trust it. Shake it out, shimmy it out, whatever it is you feel the body needs. Okay, let's tuck our toes under and we'll just sit back towards our heels. So toes tucked, just a little stretch out of the plantar fascia of the soles of the feet, breathing. Deep breaths. Okay, well done. We're going to come out of this now. So you can lean forwards, you can give the legs a little stretch out behind you, and maybe the toes need a little wiggle after that. So have a little stretch out. Let's come and sit. So we're going to come and sit in Sukhasana, so you can face towards the screen. You might need your props. I know that you all know what to do there. So that means with our legs crossed in a nice compact position with the shins forwards, not tucked under. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Sit on a block if you feel collapsed. Raise your shins with your blanket. If your shins are lifted, take that support. And then we'll just sit, we'll rest our hands on our knees or on our thighs, and we can have palms down or palms up. And I want you to try both. So maybe you've got a go-to action, but I want you to feel into the subtle difference. So let's just start with the palms down for a moment. So elbows are beneath the shoulders, the collarbones are broad. And we'll just feel into what that does, how that feels. Just for a couple of breaths. Just really pay attention. Okay, now turn the palms up. And pay attention to that, how that feels. And then feel free to take your hands into either position, palms down or palms up, depending on which position feels more engaging for you right now. And we'll take our time here to orientate ourselves back to those two centers. The central axis of the body. So in terms of energy, this is tuning into the Sushumna, the Madhya Nadi, the central channel, the Brahmadanda, the Avaduta. So it's got, or Avaduti, it's got various names. But we tune into this line between the pelvic floor and the center of the crown of the head. And we feel flow there. Then we tune into the center of the center. So the heart center. Hridaya Chitta Samvit, which is Patanjali's advice on using focus, meditation and absorption on our heart center, what's called Samyama Yoga, Dharana Dhyana Samadhi. And he states that when we place these actions of focus, meditation and absorption there, we come to know consciousness. So we'll just rest in that for a moment and see if there's any truth in that by just taking our attention to the heart center, feeling it as an object of meditation, an object of merging, and then we just rest in awareness. So sometimes meditation is something that can be challenging. The mind is busy and distracted often, and we sit and meditate, but it's about finding the technique, and coming into a meditative experience happens more easily when we've moved the body and we've kind of released tensions in the body. But also, just rather than just simply thinking, I am meditating, just allowing yourself to perhaps come into focus with a particular object, whether it's your heart center or your breath. You can feel that you enter it by just being aware, applying concentration there, and then meditation and absorption arise naturally from that. They become effortless. Okay, we're going to release from this. We're going to change the cross of the legs. So let's move slowly, because hopefully that focus on the heart center has started to settle us a little. So we'll move slowly. We'll change the cross of the legs to bring the opposite leg in front now and adjust the body again as you need to, drawing the buttock flesh out and back behind you. So we adjust the placement of the pelvis. We take any support underneath the seat, underneath the shins. We can rest our hands on our knees. We're going to lift up. We can take this attention into the midline again, and then the center of the midline at the heart center. And then we're going to feel into a rotation around this midline. Okay, so we're going to keep a little tone in the belly, a little lift in the chest. We're going to just bring our hands lightly to the floor, and we're going to feel into a little movement where we're going to let the fingers lightly brush along the floor to turn to one side. The arms can almost wrap around the body like a little, I don't know, feels like a little flamenco kind of action. And we can move from side to side, but we're staying tall. So we're feeling like the body is really rotating around this lengthened midline. And in that turning action, it's almost like it creates a massaging around the body, around the heart center. Okay, now let's just pause in one of the turns. So we'll just bring our hand to the floor behind us. We can press into the fingertips. We can lift up. We can have our hand crossing to the other knee. Or if you want something that feels more open and spacious, just bring the hand back to its own knee. Feel the lift. So we've got an assistance from the hand behind us to lift into the center. Okay, well done. Now let's take it to the other side. So let's just slowly turn to the other side so we can feel the releasing process of that first side as we turn. And then again, we can deepen the fingertips into the floor or to a block behind us if we need it. And we breathe. Let the forehead soften, let the jaw release. Okay, let's slowly bring ourselves back to the center. Take a moment to just watch the release. So particularly through what was your back, shoulder, all the way down through that arm and that side of the body. Okay, we're going to release our legs out in front of us. We're going to give them a little movement, a little shake out, maybe a little pat down, a little movement through the ankles. That's it. Have a little roll out of the shoulders. And then we're going to come onto our back and we're going to take a little bit of movement before we come into Shavasana. So if you want warmer clothing on at this point, you can get that ready. But we're going to come in and we're going to take a little Drishadasana to start with. So that is to hug the knees in towards the chest and have a little rock. So you can either hold the shins or you can hold behind the thighs. You can interlace the hands or hold a wrist, or you can hold each leg independently. So you can feel into whatever action works for you. Knees can be together or apart. And then you just rock and enjoy that slow squeezing out of any remaining little bits of tension that might be there through the back muscles. So a slow movement across the back sort of really helps to iron out the back. That's it. Breathe into it. Breathe into the deepening of the groin area. So the top of the front of the thigh. So we can feel that strong flexion of the hips. We might feel strong sensation there even. So we can breathe into it. We're going to come back to the center, and then we're going to open up the angle of the back of the knees, and we're going to take hold of either the back of the thighs, the ankles, shins, or feet. So we've got our knees towards a right angle, and again we're just going to have a little rock, as long as that's comfortable for us to do. And then breathing into the inner thighs, breathing into the inner groin area. And then in your own time, we come back to the center. We release the feet. We take a deep breath. We press the feet into the floor. We lift up the pelvis. We have a little wiggle out, a little play, a little shake out. And then we're going to lay ourselves down for Shavasana. So as always, we have the arms a little away from the body, making sure they're not pinned against the side of the body, or we rest our hands on our torso. We take support for the head if it tips back, or if we have a preference for support, and we extend the legs, maybe with support behind the knees if you need that support for your knees or for the comfort of your lower back. Sometimes people will take Shavasana with the knees bent and the feet on the floor, which is okay if you really need to for an injury, but ideally if you're doing that for the sake of your lower back, having support behind your knees so your legs can be rested, so there's no part of you that's having to hold yourself in the position. That is better. And then you close your eyes. Any last little movements are welcome, so you can then feel settled. So we'll take some slower, deeper breaths here now. And even one breath can be enough to offer us into release. Notice that. See if you can feel it in one breath. Total release. And then stay there. Now I'm going to just keep talking for a little while longer, but if you are restricted by time, then you may need to come out, then that's fine. You can come out if you need to leave now, but I'll keep you here for another couple of minutes or so. So just simply fall into your breath. Fall into your breath. Fall into your breath. Okay, so of course you're welcome to lay on if you have the luxury of time, and then you can just carry on, but if you need to get on with your day, you may take a slower, deeper breath now and bend your knees and place your feet to the floor. Adjusting your pelvis to feel comfortable in the lower back, feeling into any little natural movements here. And then taking a little roll over onto your side and just pausing there, breathing. If you're happy to roll to the other side, you may also roll to the other side. And then when you're ready, maybe with a little movement, a little stretch, whatever you need, come up from your side and come up to sitting. And we'll close our practice with a single Om together. So let's do that now. Hands to the heart center. Let's take a deep breath in to prepare. Thank you all very much. Namaste, Namo Buddhaya, reverence to you all. Lovely to see you. Hope you all have a lovely day. And I'll